8 bronze, 8 silver, 8 golds, obviously 1 platinum. Crash Bandicoot 1 took me down memory lane. This was one of the first games I ever got as a kid, and I never finished it. So when I was playing this game, a lot of the levels I had never ever seen before, but a couple of them brought back memories just of how much of a pain they were. And thankfully stage 1 says to enjoy the game, but that never ends up being the case for trophy hunters, right? I mean, you gotta basically trudge through, and if you're OCD like me, not being able to get those gems on the first playthrough just really bites your soul. And at first I was struggling with that, and after a while I just kind of started intentionally going for miscellaneous trophies because I didn't want to go back. My overall experience with Crash 1 it's good, it's fun, but it's very much about the details. Like, there's no slide or anything like that. There's no double jump. I mean, it's just pure fundamentals. It's weird, and as someone whose first Crash game that they beat being Wrath of Cortex, it was weird to go back to the very first Crash and remember that, oh, I can't do all these gimmicky things. And that plays a large part later in the video when it comes down to the time trials. But stage 1 should be a cakewalk. Just play the game, learn what you can, start figuring things out, except that you will die a lot. The bosses, there's no difficulty setting, but the bosses can be annoying until you figure out what they're doing. I know I struggled specifically with Pinstripe. I don't know, I just kept getting cocky, and then Cortex is always a pain. Stage 2 though is where things, this is where you gotta really start to see why the game has a pretty high difficulty. So basically you have all these color gems that you can't always get the first go around in most Crash games. It basically requires you to get all boxes and not die, and that seems easy, but you'll notice there's a lot of gimmicky stuff that starts to happen in the game. You'll see in some examples just mistiming jumps. You think you're gonna land somewhere and you don't. Obviously now in the later Crash games, I'm going to assume they've added features so you can see where you're gonna land, but that was a big thing in Crash 1 for me, is I couldn't see where I was gonna fall. And you're almost playing a guessing game, and you just get into these moments where you're just dying and dying and dying. And my god, there's this map, Sunset Villa and Native Fortress. They are torture. I probably had about 3 hours worth of footage for Native Fortress, but ultimately I didn't even put half the deaths I got. I mean, it's just, you're going to die. You need to accept that right now. Going for the Crash 1 play, you're going to die a lot. And if I had just shown a whole compilation of my deaths, we'd be here all day. But you'll see a couple of the attempts where it was just like, I don't know, one of them I forgot. I leaped onto the ledge and I touched the tail of a turtle and I died. And it's just like stuff like that, or like you think you're above the flame and then you just have to watch as Crash gets cooked. Eventually I figured out that not only can I just go behind the wall to save time, but you figure out the patterns and you figure out, okay, I can jump here, can't jump here, and it all works itself out in the end. But patience is gonna be key, and you only need gold. Thankfully, I've heard about Crash 4, and now they now require you to get the plat or developer's time. Thankfully, Crash 1 was nice enough to only require you getting the gold, because then this would have made this a 10 out of 10 difficulty. Another stage that gave people fits is the High Road, and I don't even remember the other name. They should both be called Hell in the Sky. These boars make the stage a nightmare on top of the red falling platforms that you just it's just, again, you can't see where you're gonna land. So it was such a gimmick. And I'm just getting PTSD thinking about this level, because I had about 2 days worth of footage of me trying to get this done, to the point where I'll have to do some clutch editing. Even on the run I finally got, I basically had to follow a guide, and I would just pause at each section, because there's basically a point where you gotta glide across these turtles, And if you hold X for a long jump, you'll make it. Tap it for short jumps, and they're placed in a way that you got to know the cadence, or you're just gonna overshoot or undershoot. And I mean, this was one of those stages where like I beat this and I cried, like tears of joy. Like it was like 4 turtles in a row that I just could not get. And I remember in one of my attempts, I wish I had the footage, but guys, I'm telling you, I just raged so much. And I kind of wish I was recording this live, and maybe moving forward, I'm gonna try to play these games in the moment. It's kind of difficult with my current situation, because if you could have seen how frustrated I was getting with some of these stages, the footage just doesn't do it justice. Anyways, you see now we're on Sunset Vista. This was, for me, the gauntlet. I saved this for last because this stage is like, you find out your patience, you find out how calm you are with this stage. It's by far the longest time trial in the game, taking probably on average about 5 minutes. And so it's one of them stages where if you get all the way to the end and you die, I mean, that's about like 5-6 minutes gone down the drain. And again, very gimmicky stage. Crash 1, like, a lot of the stages are the same. They're basically, I don't know how to put it. Basically, think of it as there's like 10 stages, but they each have variations to it. So Sunset, in my opinion, is just the second and harder variation of Native Fortress. But that's basically how you can look at it. And even when I was going on Reddit looking for help, how did other people beat this, and you're watching Platinum Relic runners go for this, and it looked like they were struggling. I mean, oh Lord, I had fun with Crash 1, don't get it twisted, but this is for sure one of those platinum trophies where if you ask me to do this again, even now, it's still too fresh in my head. I wouldn't do it. I'd happily decline. I earned this platinum. You're not taking this platinum away from me. There's, you know, I'm just now getting into the scene. I know there's a bunch of games out there where like, oh, that's your platinum. That doesn't mean anything. You're not taking this platinum from me. Like, no. I had to work for this. What you're seeing here is the successful attempt. I could have, yes, I should have uploaded a lot of my failures, but to be honest, I was running out of storage space anyway, because that's how much footage I had of me failing. This part right here is what killed me over and over at least 15 times. And this part right here had me questioning if there was some sort of platinum god that didn't want me to succeed, because you see how you have to hit these rotating platforms. Yeah, I hit the jump right there and I hit it right there. Many attempts right like that right there where you just weren't making it and you fall into the fire. And even right here, I'm sure I was stressing the hell out if I would, look at that. Like, someone was out to get me that didn't want me to succeed on this platinum, because that made no sense. Jumps that I was making routinely, and all of a sudden now I'm not getting there. It makes you wonder who was watching. Somebody was watching. And these red iguana things, no. But ultimately, we got Sunset Vista done, and that was the only thing standing between me and the platinum. But there was something standing between me and the 100% trophy, and that is Stormy Ascent. That is its own video in itself, and I don't even know if I have all the footage for that. But I am taking my platinum, and I am running to the hills. Crash 2 and 3 will be sometime next year, guys. I needed a break.